There is something you need to understand about Lagos Island. The same street where someone is buying pure water from a cat, a man is closing a deal worth more than most countries spend in a year. Wealth and ordinary life exist on top of each other here in a way that is completely unique. I had lived on this island for 2 years, and I had never seen the two worlds collide the way they were about to collide for me. On the Friday after the coffee shop, I found out who Tobi really was. Not from him. Lagos told me first. The way Lagos always tells you things loudly, publicly, and at the absolute worst possible moment. Stay with me. He was there on Friday. He had moved from my table to the one beside it, leaving mine free. I noticed this immediately and stored it carefully in the same place I was storing everything about him. I sat down. Mama Bisi brought my coffee without being asked. He was already writing in his notebook. He looked up and said, "Good morning." I said, "You moved." He said, "It seemed fair." I thought about that word, fair. He had thought about Tuesday. That meant something. We talked the way people talk when they are getting used to each other, finding the rhythm of it. He asked about the font argument it had apparently stayed with him, which I found both flattering and slightly concerning. I told him the client had finally agreed I was right. He said, "Was it worth the argument?" I said, "It is always worth the argument when you are right." He looked at me for a moment and said, "I think I would agree with that." Something in how he said it told me he was not just talking about funds. I left the coffee shop at 9 a.m. and walked back toward the office. I passed Malam Sule's newspaper stand the way I always do. My eyes went to the magazines, the way eyes go to things they are not specifically looking for. And then I stopped walking. The cover of Business West Africa. A man in a sharp suit at what looked like an international conference. A headline. And a face I recognized immediately because I had been sitting next to it in a coffee shop 20 minutes earlier talking about fonts. Tobenna Okafor, Nigeria's most private billionaire. I stood at that newspaper stand and I read the headline 3 times. I bought the magazine. I walked to a bench and I sat down and I read the article. Founder and CEO of Okafor Digital Group. Operations across 11 African countries. What? I read the number twice. What more than I would earn in approximately 400 lifetimes. And he had been sitting in a coffee shop on a side street with a notebook and a plain shirt, talking to me about fonts. I sat on that bench for a long time. The article said he was famously private, that he rarely gave interviews, that almost nothing was known about his personal life, that he had built his entire company in 12 years, from a small tech startup in Yaba, where I live, to one of the largest digital media groups in West Africa. He said he was known for making decisions that surprised everyone and being right about them consistently. He said people who worked for him described him as demanding, fair, and impossible to read. And then I found the paragraph that explained the notebook, the plain shirt, the BRT bus, the coffee shop on the side street. The article mentioned briefly, almost in passing, that 3 years ago he had experienced a significant personal betrayal that led him to make significant changes in how he lived his daily life. It gave no details. It did not need to. I already understood. He rode public transport so people would talk to him like a person instead of a resource. He used a notebook so his thoughts lived nowhere that could be accessed. He came to a coffee shop on a side street where nobody knew his name. And he had sat next to me on a broken bus, a woman who had no idea who he was and had a real conversation for the first time in however long. And now I knew, and everything was different, and I did not know what to do with that. I put the magazine in my bag and I went to work and I tried to design things. I was not very successful. I kept thinking about 2 specific questions. First, did he know that I did not know who he was, and was that the point? Second, now that I knew, what was I supposed to do? Was I supposed to treat him differently? Was I supposed to pretend I did not know? Was I supposed to stop going to the coffee shop? And then I made a decision. I decided to do nothing differently. Because whoever he was in that magazine, the person who had sat next to me on a broken bus and listened about fonts and moved tables on Friday, out of fairness, that was also a real person. Maybe the realest version of him that existed. And I was not going to take that from him by suddenly performing awe or calculation or anything else. I was going to keep being exactly who I was and see what happened. On Monday, I arrived first. I sat at my table. I ordered my coffee. And when the door opened and he came in, I looked up the way I would look up at anyone. Not differently. Not with the knowledge of a magazine sitting in my bag. Just, "Good morning, Tobi." He sat down. He said, "You are early today." I said, "I had things to think about." He said, "Anything interesting?" I said, "Fonts." He almost smiled. I watched him reading me. He always reads people. I had noticed that by now. He was waiting for something to change, for me to ask him something I had not asked before, for my eyes to go to his watch or his phone or somewhere that would tell him I had done the research. I gave him nothing because I had decided to give him nothing. And slowly, over that cup of coffee, I watched something in his face begin to do something I recognized, begin to rest. Mama BC told me later, much later, that she had known from the Thursday they were both there for the first time. She said, "I see people come and go in this shop for 15 years. I know when 2 people are talking to each other and when 2 people are talking to the version of themselves they want the other person to see. You two, from the first day, you were just talking to each other." I thought about that for a long time. I think she was right. And I think that was the rarest thing either of us had found in a very long time. Episode 4 is coming. Subscribe to Moonlight Tales by Joy so you never miss it. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Like this video, share it, and tell me in the comments, would you have told him you knew or done what Zara did? I read every single one.